Ancient Dragon Man. I find tarnished fights are kind of rare. You don't get a whole lot of equal where you feel like you're. No, I think ranking by difficulty is kind of silly because a lot of these fights, there's only like 2 or 3 bosses that I did multiple attempts on. Everyone else is like 1 or 2. So I think going from favorite to least favorite. Okay, so there's not a whole lot of like equal fights, I'd say, where you're fighting someone who has the capabilities as the main character. So that's why I like Ancient Dragon Man as a fight, because he heals and he fights like a tarnished. Like, it's almost like a PvP match. So it's cool because he's also like, he's showing off stuff that you get later in the DLC. You get the dragon transformation later, which is the dragon priestess heart I found. Lets you transform into a dragon. I didn't explore that at all, but it's something cool that you got from the Dark Souls 3. I don't know if you could do it in the other Dark Souls games, but in Dark Souls 3, you could change your race, quote unquote. Like, you could turn into a dragon. Half dragon. You had to equip the dragon stones to do it. So it's kind of cool that that came back for Elden Ring. Bloodborne, you could do the same thing too. Couldn't you turn into an alien? A Squidward? Senisax, bad. I hate these fights. Nothing flashy or cool. Some of the other dragon fights, like the Bale fight, you can turn into a beast and a cauliflower alien. Right, right. So it's cool that they brought the mechanic back in Elden Ring, and the Ancient Dragon Man is like the precursor to that. To say, hey, look, you could become this. Let's see. Black Knight Idrid. These guys fight like knight enemies, which are kind of close to like fighting a tarnish, but not as cool. I'm going to put both Black Knights in there. They might even heal, but they feel more NPC than the Ancient Dragon Man does. Black Jail Knight, that was the first boss we fought. So I had no shadow blessings, and I was like, oh, let me walk into this mausoleum. Oh, it's an ancient spirit. I'll take this guy out real quick. And I was stuck fighting him for a while. Again, another boss that fights like a tarnished. He shows off so many cool things. He's like I'm pretty sure he's like a throwback to Guts, because he has the repeating crossbow in the left hand. He's wearing armor that's similar to Guts' armor, and he has a great sword. So it was like, he's pretty cool in that design. I'm going to put him ahead of Ancient Dragon Man because I am a fan of Berserk. Chief Blood Fiend. This is... You remember the kind of like troll ogre looking guys that we encountered a lot, especially in the Trina area? The chief is a leader of them, but he fights like a normal one of them. So it's like one of those... early dungeons in the base Elden Ring game where it's like, hey, here's a regular enemy, we gave it some extra HP and called it a boss. I don't think it did anything unique that stood out to me. So I'm gonna put it in meh tier because it's not a bad fight. Because the base game does do that, hey, let's elevate a regular opponent to a boss just for this quick dungeon. Commander Gaius. Do I think he's cool? I don't think he's meh. I don't know if he's a bad fight, though. It's like fighting the Tree Sentinel on crack. He's like a mix of a Tree Sentinel and the Radahn fight, now that I think about it. Because he has, like, the gravity attacks like Radahn has, but then he's on horseback, or pigback, the whole time, like a Tree Sentinel. I don't know, maybe it's not that unique. Maybe he's not that cool. The lore around him is a little bit more cool in that he is one of the few Albinarics that actually made it to the Shadow Realm. There's only one other Albinaric that you encounter, and she's the one guarding his shack and drops his leg gear. I don't know. I like him because of the sword lance that I transmuted from his soul. That was the weapon I was using at the end of the DLC there. Am I basing it on how many tries it took me? Like, I think I already answered that. I'm scrolling through chat again in my mind. Count Emir. I kind of meh. I know it's like a tarnished fight, and it was cool that he's summoning those finger enemies to fight throughout, and it's a two-phase fight where you have to fight his henchman first. The Black Knight lady, I can't remember her name. Jotun. You fight her and then him. But it didn't it didn't really stand out to me as anything else. It was like a tarnish fight, but I summoned NPCs. Plus his whole, I don't know, his whole thing just, I don't understand what he's doing. Like the whole fingers are corrupt, so we're not interpreting the greater will correctly. And what, he thinks he's going to do a better job being the mother of fingers? How are you going to make more fingers? I don't know. Maybe that part of the lore was lost on me. Curse Blade of Labyrinth? This is another fight where it's a regular enemy escalated to a boss tier. I hate the Ascendants because they're like these ninja assassins perched throughout the Shadow Realm, and you'll just like round a corner and they'll just jump attack you. But I did get a summon of the Curse Blade, but then the Curse Blade just like was underwhelming as a summon too, so not a fan of it. Dancer of Rana. I fought her on my off-stream playthrough. I'm trying to, is she cool? It's another Mausoleum character. She has cool equipment. You have to build around it. I wasn't as impressed as the Black Jail Knight. I'll put her top of the C tier. Yeah, her stuff wasn't as flashy, so I wasn't as interested. The Death Knights. I'm trying to remember. I fought one of the two Death Knights. I don't know why they have both versions in here. I might jump around. Try to hit some of the other ones. I'll come back to these. Furnace Golem. Terrible. I hate the Furnace Golems. Even if they are pretty easy to beat, because all you have to do is poke them in the legs a bunch, there's some that have guarded legs, and you have to throw pots into their head to kill them. They have insane aggro range. They can layer their fireball attacks, so if you aggro one, you can't like approach it safely because you're going to take damage. And some of them, I guess some of the cool stuff's locked behind them, but I was not a fan. Dancing Beast. Very cool fight. Maybe I didn't understand the lore about it 100%. I probably still don't. But the whole intro cutscene that it got with the disembodied voice spurring it to action to, quell you, the invader. And then it had a lot of cool flashy attacks with the lightning and the storms and the winds. I think I went Black Jail Knight into Divine Beast Dancing Lion. So the Dancing Lion's the first Remembrance boss I fought, and it was a very cool start to the DLC. To climb through that first legacy dungeon, quote unquote, to use that term, and climb to the top of that tower and fight that thing was really cool. It only took me a couple attempts to beat it. It was not that difficult of a boss, but it was still very neat. Liked it a lot. Mesmer, I'm putting up as the coolest boss. I mean, he had a lot of time in the trailer. He has a lot of lore in the Shadow Realm, and his fight was tough, but not as tough as the Radahn fight. Obviously, you get to summon the Horn Scent for help, and he's necessary to continue the story of the DLC. Very cool. I probably need to do more lore research on the DLC or wait for more people to make lore videos on it. I don't quite understand how people make it into the Shadow Realm, and I don't know why Mesmer was locked there, and I don't know why he has serpents like Rykard does. I know Rykard got corrupted by the serpent and agreed to fall into the family of serpents. Whereas Mesmer, it feels like, was born with the serpents. That's why Marika blocked out his eyeball, because the serpent was behind his right eye. I don't quite understand it. The lore, at least. It is interesting that he has the power to burn the Shadow Tree, similar to how Melina had the power to burn the Erdtree if you go that route, any route that isn't the Frenzied Flame route. Speaking of Frenzied Flame, Midra was a cool fight. I was trying to research the Frenzied Flame because you have to encounter the three finger. You have to get touched by the three fingers in the base game to get corrupted by the Frenzy Flame, and that happens to Vike, who was going to be Elden Lord before you, and then it seems he got corrupted by the Frenzied Flame. But then you have this whole completely separate realm, separate from the Lands Between, the base game, and then there's a Lord of Frenzied Flame hiding out in there too. So I don't quite understand how the Frenzied Flame can appear in multiple places at once. So lore-wise, I don't understand his whole thing, and Nanaya, and the baby Lord of Flame that Nanaya's torch implies. So I think there's a lot of cool lore there, especially with the that whole abandoned forest and the lantern heads that frenzy you. I mean, there's a lot of atmosphere there. So Midra was really cool. And in the DLC, the video covering the Midra lore, Midra actually has more HP than Radahn does. But I think because I was summoning Ansbach, I was increasing Radahn's HP pool. And that's why I wasn't killing Radahn as fast as I killed Midra. Plus, Radahn does more damage than Midra. Mesmer was sent there by his mom to obliterate the Hornsent as revenge. Mesmer's snake nature made his existence a secret like Marika's other bad offspring. Dude, what was with Marika and having cursed children? So he just came out with snakes, kind of like how Morgoth and Moog came out with horns. And she was like, oh god, I have to hide this gross baby, so I'm going to send him to the Shadow Realm. Oh, but while he's there, I can have him exact my revenge on the Hornsent who killed all my people. I see. Who else we got? Romina, Saint of the Bud, I'm putting up there as cool. Not the coolest. Her design was super cool. The centipede body was super neat. I really liked how she looked, even though she was really easy to defeat. I think I beat her on the second try. Thankfully, not as difficult as Melania as a Scarlet Rot boss. But she looked really cool, so I'm putting her up there as coolest, even if I don't quite understand her lore reasons either. That might make her cooler in my mind. But no, she's up there. Midra is a failed Lord of Flame, told to sit there and put up with it inside of him, like a patient zero for a kind of super virus. Right, so that makes sense why the Inquisitors are blocking your way in there, and why you fight other Hornsent Inquisitors around his area, because the Hornsent are trying to keep him locked away. Because he, discovered the Frenzied Flame? And they were like, oh god, we can't let this get out. He wasn't a Frenzied Lord. He was closest after a Tarnished to be a Frenzied Lord. If the Tarnished didn't become embraced by Flame, Midra would become one. I have to figure this out. Is there different dialogue if you do Midra's area after encountering the Three Fingers and being embraced by them? Like, could you have a character that's already becoming the Frenzied Lord go see Midra? What would Midra say? Oh, maybe they didn't plan for that. Oh, that would be so sad if there's no, secret or hidden dialogue. Man, now I need to play another character to go get the Frenzied Fingers and go see Midra and see if he says anything different. I don't think anyone in the base game says anything about the DLC. No, not in the base game. I'm talking about Midra in the DLC. After you encounter the Three Fingers, your character gets the glowy eyes and the burns on their body. So you've accepted the Frenzied Flame at that point. So what if you go into Midra's Manse already on your path of becoming the Lord of Frenzied Flame, like a Lord as well? What does Midra acknowledge that you're also a Lord of Frenzied Flame? Or does he see the frenzy in you? I don't know. Midra's cringe, therefore dead. That's not fair. Midra wasn't cringe. Shadow Tree Avatar, I think was cool. The self-resurrecting ability was pretty neat. Caught me the first time I fought him. Did not expect that. Was okay in the difficulty department. Some of his attacks seemed very difficult to dodge. But all in all, I thought the Shadow Tree Avatar was pretty fun. Probably put that in the fun list. Optional, but it drops the Great Rune of Mikola, so also important. We got a Great Ape situation with the Shadow Tree Avatar. Oh, yeah, from Sekiro. Yeah, the Shadow Tree Avatar self-resurrects. And when I first encountered it, I was not expecting that. I was like, wow, this boss died really easily. Wait, how come it didn't pop up with boss slain? Oh my god, he's charging at me. Was kind of how it went. Now, unfortunately, my first encounter with him was with my off-stream character, not my on-stream character. So I didn't... That whole getting caught off guard didn't happen on stream. Golden Hippo. Meh. I don't know why. I don't know if there is lore of the Golden Hippos, but you fight like 4 of them throughout the DLC, and they all have the same moveset. And it's just a big, slow, hard-hitting beast that... I don't know. Once you fought it once, you knew all of its tricks, and it wasn't that difficult. Just, like, kind of a fun, like, DPS boss. Like, how much damage can I do to it before it dies? I would say it's bad. I feel like I'm being harsh on some of these. Putrescence Knight. Putrescence Knight was pretty cool. Heck, get it? Because it does frost damage. But it was interesting that the horse, kind of like Radahn, the Radahn fight, the horse would... Well, he's riding a horse like the Radahn fight, but unlike the Radahn fight, the horse actually participates as an extra attacker. So that was kind of cool. I didn't like how some of the abilities felt like they were impossible to dodge. Mostly a lot of the cold flame shockwaves that he sends out. That wasn't too pleasant. Did not like. But he looked cool. I used his sword or his axe throughout most of the DLC, so I guess I got to put him in the cool tier just for that. Red Bear. Hang on, I'm going to hit some of the missed ones. I did not fight Rakshasa. I don't know who that is. I don't know where that is. I did not fight Red Bear. Death Knight. I'm trying to remember the Death Knight fight. I fought it on one of the playthroughs. Does the Death Knight fight like a Tarnished? Or is he more like a regular NPC, like a regular enemy? Oh, I'm going to put the Ghost Flame Dragons in Mist. I know where the 2 are, and I skipped both of them. I was not impressed. Red Bear sounds like a band name. It's a dude wearing bear clothes, and he fights you with bear claws. Meteor Mother of Fingers. I think Meteor might be a meh fight. Like, trying to think about it. Nothing about that fight really stood out to me. No status effects. I mean, it was creepy because she's like a hand made of hands and fingers made of fingers, but... And the lore implications of her being the mother of all the 2 fingers that had been guiding the whole realm by translating the words of the greater will from outer space or something, but... I guess lore-wise, she's pretty cool. I can put her up high in the meh tier, but her fight wasn't anything interesting. And getting to her was a chore. You had to run around and blow some horns. And after you blew some horns, then it was like, okay, now you can go fight her. I feel like I'm gonna put a lot of bosses in the meh tier. She would have been a lot cooler if, like, leaving fingerprints causes an ailment. I thought for sure she would have caused madness buildup. And I don't think that would have been out of character, considering the three fingers seem to be the source of frenzy, at least in the base game. And then some of her attacks are, like, color-coded, the reddish, pinkish, orangish stuff that frenzy could be. So I thought it would have been totally within her wheelhouse to do that, but we didn't get that. The quest is worth doing for the talismans alone if you're not an int build. You got the 2 talismans that increase how much your flasks heal you, right? And then there's a talisman at the end that increases your spell casting. But other than that, I don't think there's anything else. The Crimson Sea talisman is very good, important if you're gonna be tank or high vig build. Oh. I think I used that talisman briefly during Radon, but then I found out that having more health was more important. She could have been like Astral, but like Plasma Star or Supernova instead of a Galaxy Void motif. Yeah, you're correct there. She could have been like the Astrals, because you fight 2 Astral Nightborn thingies. And those guys are definitely freaky in their design. Almost like the Falling Star Beast, but yeah, I don't know. She didn't summon, like, fingers to fight you. Maybe she was a void because she has no contact with the Greater Will. I don't know. Maybe I just didn't pay that close attention to the lore between Matir and Count Ymir and the finger ruins that you go to and the leech creatures. I think I missed a lot of that. She does summon fingers. Did you not see them when you fought her? It must have been a short fight. Oh, yeah, it was a short fight. It was short enough I could fit it into a YouTube short. I killed her in 60 seconds. I must have gotten to her kind of late. So I had, a lot of Shadow Tree blessings. I had my Putrescence Cleaver, so me and my Mimic Tier are both triggering frost damage on her. Yeah, I've definitely had too many fragments by the time I got to her. That was because I couldn't figure out how to get to that half of the map for the longest time, and I'd already picked up so many things. She does make the 3 fingers. I imagine she'd have some burning ability or could have both. Yeah, I thought a burning ability would be cool. I don't know. Maybe I need to fight her on a weaker character so I could see more of her moveset, but I think I skipped through too much of the lore surrounding the Mother of Fingers and that whole region. I felt like it was supposed to have deep lore implications, but I don't think it, in the end, mattered a whole lot. Okay, so the 2 fingers that are born from Matir, and according to Count Ymir, who is crazy, so I don't think you can count him as a reliable source on the fingers having lost connection with the Greater Will. Because he has an ulterior motive. He wants to become the new Mother of Fingers. So, of course, he's going to slander the other fingers and say that they're broken and need to be replaced. So he can put his own order in place and control everything. I don't know. It is interesting that there is a source for the 2 fingers. And it's not a giant like I think a lot of people originally thought. I think the Greater Will may not exist. It could just be a term for the universe or the Big Bang, not a creator deity. I thought the Greater Will was the collection of the outer gods, right? Because there's multiple gods. You have the Scarlet Rot God. You have the Arcane God. I say the Arcane God. The Arcane Talisman talks about the Blood Fiends in their throes of despair saw the outline of the goddess. It's the same goddess that Moog stabs with his scepter, his spear. Excuse me, when he's doing the Nihil attack. Maybe the Greater Will is like a pantheon. Or the gods all call themselves the Greater Will, but they are each different Greater Wills. I don't know. I do like, in some way, I do like how the gods are not quite a. It's not like they live in another realm like like Olympus or Arcadia or Valhalla or Heaven. Like they're in the same world, just all the way out in outer space, and they they punish the lands between with meteors, and the meteors contain things like Astral of the Nightborn or something else. Don't the Glintstone magicians have a god they serve? No, the Glintstone magicians worship or study, or I guess some combination of both, the primordial current, which might also be what creates the greater will, because that's also another like celestial astral body out there, and also comes down in the form of meteors. All right, speaking of meteors, Falling Star Beast buffed. Actually, I'm just gonna put all the recolors in Met here. Tree Sentinel, Drake, Deathrite, Bird. Who else counts? Demi-Human Queen Mariga. Glintstone is residual life, so I think magic is just weaponized soul energy like it is in Dark Souls. Oh, that's interesting. I never thought about that. There seems to be a lot of forces that life can come from. So the Glintstone has the primordial current, you have the Crucible, you have the Erdtree, and in some way, death even creates life in Elden Ring. With, what do they call them? Those who live in death, those who forgone death, where you come back as a zombie. And even, Fia talks about rebirthing gods through who have already died. So every form of magic in the game is drawing from a kind of power or force of nature. Very true. Later, Deathrite birds are hell. The Deathrite bird you fight in the consecrated snowlands gave me a lot of trouble, but because by that point in the game, that region, everything has a lot of health and does a lot of damage. You know, I'm going to put the red bears in Met here as well. I know they're like upgraded rune bears, and they have like a slightly expanded move pool. But number one, they died very fast, and number two, I just... they didn't really stand out to me. Oh, Jory the Elder Inquisitor, I'm going to put down there too. It feels like FromSoft likes to have these fights where there's a lot of summons included in them. The Renala fight in Raya Lucaria. In Dark Souls 3, you have the... Oh, what are those guys you fight in the cathedral? And only some of them get possessed, and you have to smack them to damage the boss. And then you had that in Bloodborne too. I don't know, it feels like a lot of the games, they have this whole motif of boss plus lots of extras. But Jory wasn't summoning anything I hadn't seen before. It was all already Horn Scent that we had already fought in other parts of the game. So it didn't feel that unique. I'm really trying to remember the Death Knights, but I almost want to put them in Mist, because I only know of one, and there's apparently two, and they just don't stand out to me at all. I don't know if I killed them too fast, or I'm gonna be safe and just put them in the Mist tier. Okay, so I didn't fight Demi-Human Swordsmaster Ons on my on the stream character, but my off-stream character I did. And this is like a wannabe Melania, or like a Master Yoda, but he was really cool. He was fun to fight. Death Knights are pretty cool in my opinion. I just don't remember fighting them to rank them. The Lamenter, I'll say it was a cool fight. I didn't have issues with him on the stream character, but my off-stream playthrough, I had a ton of problems fighting him because I didn't understand that he has an instant death attack if he laughs at you too many times. I don't quite understand the mechanics. But like you get these little floating lamenter skulls around your head, and it's from him giggling at you, and if he giggles at you too many times, you insta die. So I think I just killed him too fast on stream, and then off stream I was like, holy cow, there's a lot more going on here. And he also has a similar feel to like Midra lore-wise, where he was buried deep in a jail, hidden away from the world. So it seems like it was an effect that they didn't want him to get out. And I didn't play with it a whole lot, but similar to the Ancient Dragon Man, after you kill him, you get the Lamenter's Mask, which you can, if you're naked, you can activate the mask and you turn into a Lamenter. Which is cool. I haven't experimented with it at all. I might in the future. I mean, I have an arcane character that could take advantage of it. I'll put him on the lower tier of cool just because that whole mechanic of him cloning himself, and then you have to kill the clones before the real one giggles at you, and then if you get giggled, you just insta-die. It was frustrating but really funny. I'm gonna put Rolana in the coolest tier. She does kind of stand out above the other ones in the cool tier, but she's on the lowest end of coolest bosses. It reminds me too much of Pontiff Sullivan. So not super unique, but Pontiff Sullivan was still a cool fight. I literally have no clue lore-wise why she's in the Shadow Realm. I understand she's the twin sister of Ranala. She was an amazing fight. I'm glad I sold her. She was mega hard. See, I summoned Needle Knight Leda and my Mimic tier, so we just ganged up on her, and she went down super fast. So I kind of had a moment like Dave where it was like, was that boss supposed to be hard? She had a crush on Mesmer? Oh, I didn't know that. That's a decent lore. Where is that explained? Everyone knows that she's thirsty for Mesmer except me, apparently. I don't know. Did not return her affections. She did have some really cool flashy attacks, I will say. You definitely had to be on your ball to dodge like the Twin Moon attack. I do like the bosses that where it's more than just like block and dodge, but you also have to jump to avoid their attacks. So I do like it when they have shockwave attacks that you can jump over. So you take full advantage of all mobility that Elden Ring offers you, and it's not just run around, dodge, block, dodge. So I think her fight was designed pretty well and looked really cool. She was just easy for me. I remember thinking, I hope the DLC has a fast-moving magic user. I got what I wanted. Yeah. All the Lucarian girls simping for redheads. Her and her twin sister both simping for redheads. True. Radahn. Radahn is cool. It's coolest. I don't think he's cooler than Bale. I might put him on the same tier as Mesmer. I don't know if he's cooler than Mesmer. Okay, maybe he is cooler than Mesmer. Nope, but Bale's the coolest. Bale is the coolest. His whole thing was just super flashy, and the music and Igon's voice acting all made that really cinematic. The Radahn thing is cool because the storyline around Mikola, it made it feel like that the base game storyline had progressed, and it wasn't like everything was just like in this limbo waiting for us to run around and kill everything. It felt like the world was moving forward, and people's machinations and chess moves and their plans and keikaku, everything was all marching forward. So Radahn's body, Mohg's body, and I felt like you got a lot of that exploring through the DLC. Ansbach moves from place to place, even within the specimen storeroom. The other NPCs, they move around in different spots too. So it really did feel like that there was a storyline you were actively progressing through. It felt a little phoned in to fight Radahn a second time, but his moveset was the same but different enough where it was... That's a horrible sentence. He had some of the same moves from when you fought him in the festival in Caelid, but then like they added in the sprinkling of Mohg's ability with he has the one fire slash that he does. Oh, the other thing the fight reminds me of is the Twin Princes fight from Dark Souls 3. Where you have the one prince who's got a strong body, but his mind is completely rotted away. And then the other prince who is weak and frail, but very manipulative. And then they fight together. Yeah, almost like the same way too, with the younger brother putting his arms around the bigger brother's neck and everything. A Lothric Prince mechanic. That's who they were, the Lothric Princes. Yeah, it isn't like the Lothric Prince, though, where you have to knock Miquella off of Radahn and damage Miquella. Not that you would, because I think by that point, Miquella was, mostly ethereal, incorporeal, practically a ghost. Which also makes me wonder, how does he actually die in the end when you slay Radahn? Or is it just his promise? Radahn was the last thing anchoring him to the world, and killing Radahn kills Miquella. Killing Radahn again kills Miquella. But yeah, the fight was cool. It's what I was just saying. I segued into it talking about R'hllana going into Radahn intentionally, in that the Radahn fight, you have to, unlock the camera and sprint away. When he does the meteor attack, you have to sprint and jump. A lot of the shockwave attacks, I wasn't very good at doing this, but you can jump over the shockwaves to dodge the damage. I was even resorting to blocking to even just like absorb a portion of the damage he was doing to me. Even though like the sword lance doesn't have 100% physical absorb, it was like, you know what, if this thing even blocks like 70% of the damage, that'll keep me alive a little bit longer. I mean, I had to buff my gear, tune my talismans to fight him, and change my equipment, all to defeat him. I do like it when you have bosses that make you have to, oh hey, the way that you've been playing the whole way through, you have to stop and re-strategize. Maybe not full on respec your character 4 times like someone else, but enough to go, okay, what other weapons are in my repertoire? What other summons could I use? Even though I just used Mimic Tier the whole time. I was even using different equipables. Like, I was trying to use the Marika's Blessing as an extra heal. We had Kukris to try to do extra bleed. I was even thinking about going and buying a whole bunch of shrimp for extra damage absorption. I changed my my Physic Flask tiers around to get different effects. Yeah, I mean, a tough boss, not unbeatable. Definitely a lot of effort. And it one of those bosses where it's like, okay, I can either try to fight him with the same loadout 300 times in a row, or I need to stop, consider how I'm going to win this fight, and then play to that out. So I think I like the strategy behind it a lot. I think that's what I would put as my coolest to least cool bosses for the DLC. I feel like I made the meh tier too vague, or maybe there's just a lot of meh bosses. But you also have a lot of really strong bosses that stand out, I think. Especially Bale and Mesmer. Great DLC. I'm sure there's still stuff I haven't found yet. Well, there is stuff I haven't found yet because I didn't max out my Shadow Tree blessings, so I don't know where those shards are hiding out from me, but there's still stuff for me to go find.